Good Saturday morning of the 17th week. This is the story today in Matthew of the death of John the Baptist. And very important because John the Baptist was an extremely important messianic figure in his time. There is a debate about, maybe the Lord's is his cousin, Jesus' cousin. The followers of John the Baptist and the followers of our Lord. Then there was an early struggle in the early church, because the followers of John the Baptist were very, very powerful figures, very powerful people in the life of the early formation of the Judeo-Christian tradition, religion. I'm not saying anything right, but I want to say this. The followers of John the Baptist were competing with the followers of Christ. And it was imperative that the followers of Christ in the writing of the gospel had to include and subordinate John the Baptist to Christ, or else you would have had two competing messianic beliefs, because John the Baptist was definitely a messianic figure. You see, the early church had to sort it all out, and this is how they sorted it. It is part of the way they sorted it out. You see, I'll read it to you, okay? Herod the Tetrarch heard of the reputation of Jesus, and he said to his servants, "This man is John the Baptist. He's been raised from the dead. That's why mighty powers are at work in him." Now Herod had arrested John, bound him, and put him in prison on account of Herodias, the wife of his brother Philip. For John had said to him, "It's not lawful for you to have her." Although he wanted to kill him, he feared the people, for they regarded him as a prophet. See, he's messianic. John the Baptist is a messianic figure. Remember the people who are reading this and hearing this at this time. All right? They're saying, how does John the Baptist fit with Christ? What's the story here? You see? How are we related? But at a birthday party, but at a birthday celebration for Herod, the daughter of Herodias performed a dance before the guests, and it delighted Herod so much that he swore to give her whatever she might ask for. And another reading, and one of the other guys, even half his kingdom, they say. Prompted by her mother, she said, "Give me here on a platter the head of John the Baptist." The king was distressed because of his oaths and the guests who were present. He ordered that it be given, and he had John beheaded in the prison. His head was brought in on a platter and given to the girl, who took it to her mother. The disciples came and took away the corpse and buried him. They went and told Jesus, you see. That's what, the expression, you're going to come in here with your head on a platter. This is where it came from, was John the Baptist. It came in his head on a platter. I love to joke about this, all right? I'm not trying to be blasphemous or anything. I said, but in Italy, there's 14 churches that have the head of John the Baptist. All right, it's not 14, but whatever. You get what I'm saying. So, oh, well. Yeah, I got to be, I guess. You have to come out of my culture to hear these kinds of stories. Not that one. I made that one up completely. About 14 churches have the head of John the Baptist. Only 9 had. No, I'm kidding. You see? That's piety. It's kind of fun looking back at it. But the point is, martyrdom was an immediate part. Martyrdom. John the Baptist is a martyr. Not of Christ. He's not a martyr for Christ. He's a martyr for the authenticity of his calling. See? He's a prophetic. He's a prophet. And in the tradition of the prophets, he stirs the conscience of the people he's called to preach to. And in some instances, he pays the ultimate price for it. See? The price of the martyr. See? That's the truth, too. Nobody really ever wants to hear the prophetic voice. See, the church is the prophet of the world today. How many people really want to hear her criticisms, her callings, if not criticisms, her callings to excellence? Where in the world is there a stronger voice for both the sacrality and permanence of marriage, the importance of the family? Who else? Huh? What's with the Catholic Church? I think the Muslims too, frankly. But at least in the Christian world, who is more articulate and more forceful, as it were, in the sacrality of marriage, its permanence? I mean, but how many people want to hear it? See? The church is not a popularity. The prophet is not a popularist. That is somebody who makes his or her bones on the cheering and applause of the public. Their authenticity, it comes from their calling. The church is called to preach the gospel, and the gospel is a gospel of a crucified, risen Christ, of the gospel of self-sacrifice in a world of self-indulgence. Who wants to hear it? And that's the truth. That's the truth. Christianity, in my view, is truly not just in a theological and religious sense, but in a very real political and moral sense, is the hope of humanity, because it preaches a gospel of self-sacrifice. Not power, but service, as Christ serves us on the cross. I mean that too. I think the problem with constitutional government, especially of democracies, it could be very, very fragile, because it doesn't capture the heart, it captures the head and the self-interest of the people. If you want to save the world, you have to save the human heart. If you want to stop evil in the world or diminish it, you have to transform the human heart, the human desires, the soul and the heart, not just the mind, but the heart. And the church speaks to that heart, calling for self-sacrificial love, as Christ loved us. He changed the world by being crucified, not by throwing his weight around. See? Yeah. In a time in which power was glorified, the Roman emperors, holy Christmas trees. Christ dies the death of a criminal. The only reason we remember the Romans is because Christianity saved Rome from oblivion. Literally, the oblivion of history. When you go to Rome, you don't go there for the emperor, you go there for the Pope. You don't go there to the Colosseum, except if you go to the Colosseum, you go there in order to see what used to be. If you go to the papacy, you go to see what is and will be. What is, was, and will be the life of the church. You see? That's just interesting. I reflect on these things, and I'm just sharing them with you. Yeah. The world does not want to hear the prophetic voice. The prophetic voice doesn't mean you predict the future. It means you critique in the light of certain key values the present. Prophet speaks to his times, about his times, calls upon the wisdom of the past and the wisdom of the past in order to call the people he has been commissioned to speak to call them back to their excellence, to what they've been called to be. He calls them back to their vocations. The church is doing that today, especially with, I don't want to beat it to death. I said it a couple of days ago. There's marriage. Who's got the strongest articulation of the sacrality of marriage than the church? In a time when divorce is rampant. The collapse of marriage as an institution, as a life-giving institution. Yeah. Who's the strongest voice? The church. Is she listened to? Marginally. Should she be able to listen to? Yes. Because she's the one who is offering us not only the richness of this life to a consecrated love, but the well-being of our children, who will discover what fidelity and love means because they have lived it with their families. That's the truth. Anyhow, prophets are not wanted, not predictors of the future, but the prophetic voice that calls us to our excellence, what we are called to be. Very often we want to hear it. Leave me alone. Leave me in my mediocrity, where I'm comfortable.